Hi everyone, welcome back to this extra episode. I decided to make this additional episode because there are some questions that were asked by listeners and people who have been asking me similar questions throughout the years. And this is also by request from one of our special listener who has been listening to my podcast, Harry. So she told me that why don't you talk about your coming out, all right? So I decided to insert that question into this episode and some other related to WLW theme for sure. Other than the WLW questions, you can listen to another podcast of mine for questions related to interpersonal skills, building self-esteem and personality development. I will tell you the name of the podcast towards the end of this episode. Okay, let us go straight to the first question. This question is from Harry. He told me, why don't you tell more about how you come out of the closet? First of all, I did not officially come out. Basically, I don't intend to. Like I had said all this while, that it took me years to realize, plus admitting to myself that I prefer women in terms of in a romantic relationship. I am attracted to women more than men. Yeah, I can say I am attracted to good-looking men, of course. If for instance, if you ask me whether that guy is good-looking or handsome, I will tell you my opinion, as what it is. But in terms of associating myself with them, including celebrities that we fancied, I don't. If you see my social media account, the celebrities that I will update in my status are 100% women like Kate Blanchett, Katie McGrath, Taylor Swift, Anna Kendrick, and many more. I have been doing that for years actually, and it is up to people, which includes my friends, to interpret whatever they have in mind. The only people who knew about this are my ex-colleagues who are now considered my friends. We all knew each other for about 13 years. I spent time together every day with them 9 to 6 p.m. And we talk about many things, both ways, whatever we are comfortable with. When I first told them, that too was like coincidence in a joking manner, which it was about after 10 years of knowing them. 10 years of knowing them. That was when one of them, who's Harry, he came to my room one day, casually teasing me about something. I mean, we were talking about that one guy who was in 23rd floor of our office building. He was like a subject for discussion since I told him and some of my ex-colleagues about him. We normally create scenarios teasing each other's related to him. Then that day, I casually told Harry and another colleague of ours who was also there, I said, why you kept talking about guys to me? What if I am not interested in guys? What if I am actually interested in women? Something like that, I remember correctly, very clearly in my mind. Because the only thing I remembered about what happened after that was Harry screaming with happiness. He was like, oh, yeah, whatever, like something like that. And so do the other colleague of mine. It is like they don't care. Like they don't care who and what, who I like or something like that, or who I am interested in. Since then, I have never talked about guys with them, but about the ladies I met. By the way, I did tell a few of my other ex-colleagues whom I was close with, which was also like in a casual way. I told them the story of how I told Harry, and then it is just automatically telling them about my actual inclination. And I did ask them personally before, a few times actually, you're okay, right? Then they replied, well, yeah, why not? They say like that. Another funny thing is when this ex-colleague of mine who was also listening, after 2 years later, she said to me, actually, I still think that you were joking until I told her recently about the story with my ex-classmates from university when I was taking my master's. At that time during the dinner when one of them conducted a game and the questions she asked were so direct, like, what is a secret that you have never told anyone before? And then two of my classmates who are ladies said they kissed a girl before. And then subsequent questions like, if you have the chance to sleep with your If you have the chance to sleep with your classmate of the same gender, who would you sleep with? For sure, I didn't reply to that question. I mean, why should I expose myself, right? I mean, I tried to get away by talking to a classmate of mine who was beside me, but I was so daring to tell one of my guy classmates after the game about my answer. First, I asked him whether he is interested to know who was in my mind. Then when he said, yes, who? Then I told him the one, including the reasons why her. Because she is, I told him because, then I told him the one who was in my mind, including the reasons why her, because I told her that I told him that she is very mysterious, very charming, and smart. He even told me that if you want to know her more, I can set up a lunch or coffee date for you. Anyway, he was and still is one of my favorite classmates. So basically, officially, I only told 7 of my ex-colleagues, one Canadian girl whom I used to hang out with, the girl in Letters of a Thousand Speeches, Taylor Swift, and other people in the world in social media and YouTube. And like I said, I don't intend to come out. Why should I? Is that even necessary? For me, my life is mine, and if I don't bother yours, give me the space. Second question. Second question is before this, are there any girls who ever flirt with you? This is actually very funny. There were I only realized it like in 10 years later. I am not kidding. So those common pickup lines they use, but I didn't notice it because at that time my brain was trying to function as straight as possible. So anything that is not straight, I didn't even think about it. Like I will conclude it as it is a common question. Like, we ask people those common questions that we normally ask people. I have a few examples which I am going to share it here. Well, I created this podcast for this reason, so I'm going to say whatever I want to say here. This happened in the lift actually twice. One time was at my old office building. Normally I saw this woman. She's a bit older than me at the time. And usually we will greet each other good morning, etc. and just speak like very casually. Then one time when it was just the two of us in the lift in the morning, she asked me whether I have a boyfriend. Then I replied, no. Then she asked me, how about a girlfriend? Then I laughed. I laughed and I said, no. This was like 14 years ago to story. So the reply, no, is fine. But with ha 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 means I was trying to tell her, hey, hello, why ask a question like that one? Then another time was a stranger in one of the lifts in town area. It was just a casual chat actually. And she's quite good looking too, of course. Also the same reply from me with the no, ha ha ha. Then, years ago, about nearly 2 decades ago, when I was taking my diploma, I know most of my schoolmates in the same faculty. Doesn't matter what courses they are from, because at that time we all had to undergo an attachment in school. So we are all mixed with schoolmates from different business courses. And one day, outside the computer lab room, while me and my group of friends were waiting to enter the class, one of the girls I knew at the time, she came and said hi to me and chat with me. But she was standing like so close, so close where there is no space to put another foot between us. And I was like literally pinned to the wall. We talked for a moment, and then she asked me whether I would like to go out for a coffee with her someday. And of course, at that time, I will say, yeah, sure. But in my head, I was like, what coffee? Like, going out? I was like, oh, shit, going out. And after she left, my group of friends asked me, who is that? And after I told them someone I know, I also told them that she stood so close to me, I couldn't breathe. Like, I was complaining to them. Okay, listen, at the time, I remember I have two things playing in my mind. I really couldn't breathe because it was really too close. Never happened to me like that before during that time. And secondly, I don't know why, I was like worried how that interaction was perceived by my group of friends during that time. I was like, I don't want them to think something else. And so when I'm thinking about it now, I am asking myself, why do I even have that kind of thinking if it was nothing, isn't it? As of recent, I have a classmate from my uni who used the same line. She said, maybe after this we should go out and have a coffee together. And then another one asked me to join her for a drink one night. I think I mentioned just recently. This one's is a bit confusing because although they both are the ones I was attracted to, I am still attracted to, but I assume those are just like casual lines, like to continue our friendship after our graduation. Yeah, so those lines I am not sure, but these same two people are the ones who I normally flirt around with in class, and I am very happy whenever I am with them. Next question. Next question. Do you think any of your friends know about your preference for women, not men, and this romantic relationship? Well, I don't have any idea exactly, and I don't intend to ask them. Anyway, I have a very small group of close friends. So far, the ones that I am really, really comfortable with are like three of them, apart from Harry and my other ex-colleagues. So two of them were my classmates from university when I was taking my bachelor degree, and the other one is Freya. I knew Freya through my ex-colleague from the company I was working as sales last time. I mentioned her in earlier episode several times. Out of these three, I feel like Freya knows, but she is smart enough uh, to ask me questions in a different way to know the truth. But all indirect questions which I am aware of, questions that are not too direct, and she does it with sense of sensitivity. So these three are those that I am most comfortable with to talk about things that are about different perspectives. Maybe because they know that I am the type who dislike questions like, when are you getting married? Or giving statements like, it is time for you to get married, with a not joking tone, with a serious tone, or wear a dress, or telling me what to do and what to dress in. I mean, I guess they are smart enough to know that if ever they said that or not accepting me as who I am, I will not hesitate to leave when it is time. I mean, it is not difficult to differentiate or identify this within your group of friends. You have to open your eyes and heart, and you will see it very clearly. Sometimes, if anyone says that to me, I might reply like as if I could take your joke, but normally I don't. And if it is too much negativity, I will wait for the best time, then I will decide what to do. Mostly with the tone of voice, vibe, and energy when you are around people, you can know and who you feel comfortable with to tell it all. But I will not tell them anything until I have a girlfriend of my own. One day, when it is time, I will. This includes my family. But if they already found out about my podcast and listening to this, well, hello. The fourth question. Are there any reason why you do not intend to tell anyone about this? Okay, just so you know, if I didn't mention this earlier, I have only consciously aware about my preference like 5 or maybe 8 years ago, but only able to fully embrace it like 2 or 3 years ago. So I don't plan to tell my friends who I hang out with is because, based on my observations and question I asked throughout my friendship with them, what kind of remarks and tone they give for people who are gays or lesbians. So personally, I don't mind if they don't accept me as a friend anymore. I really don't mind. I mean, people have the choice, right? So I am the type who socialize just for the sake of socializing sometimes, and that is it. And my trademark is normally that I don't really share personal related stories about myself to even my closest friends. Even if I do, it is not the deeper side of me. I let them see what I want them to see normally. So it will also be based on their own observations and analysis. So far, out of my closest friends, Freya is a bit more open. And like I said, I feel like she already knows. And of course, Harry and my ex-colleagues, they are literally very open to this. I mean, we influence each other in different ways. Next question. How do you hide your identity? If you mean recently, I don't hide anymore. I just show it all. Last time, I don't think I hide it. I was like, for sure, not really sure. So it is basically not really hiding. Now, like, I don't even care if someone is observing me and my actions towards a girl whom I am interested in. For example, recently I was at a friend's wedding and was seated beside one of my classmates, the other girl whom I always talk about. This friend's wedding is our classmate, actually, ex-classmate. She and me has some kind of connection in comparison to with her other classmates. I did mention her standing very close to me in a school event. Okay, the one very obvious behavior, just the two of us in the middle of the restaurant while our other alumni are in groups chatting with each other. So for this wedding, so throughout that wedding, whenever I talk to her, I purposely whisper, like specifically my intention was on her. And at one point, when I whispered to her ear, I really put myself so close to her that my lips touches her hair. But just so you know, this is not the first time when I am with her that I did this. Sometimes when we hug, I will kiss her head at that time, and usually I was like a bit observant with the surrounding. But this time I really don't care. There were like 6 other girls at the table. I have no idea why I don't care what they think. What they think compared to the usual. As in, if this happened 5 years ago, I would avoid being so touchy or flirty. I would be very, how to say, consciously worry about what other people think. And throughout that afternoon, it is like there is a magnet between us. So every time I sit straight back again, because most of the time I was leaning towards her and my mom. So every time I sit straight back again, because most of the time I was leaning towards her and my arms behind her chair. So every time I move back to my sit properly, like I'm sitting properly back, she will lean her back. She will lean her body towards me. So did mine. So basically, it's like automatically, and this is basically the recent adventures of me not hiding myself. Actually, right, with my classmates from my master's class, since one of my classmates asked me that question about my preference, I started to not hide myself from them. Even with this classmate who asked me the question, although I didn't give her the answer but was laughing about it instead, I feel she knows the answer though, because she's one of the smartest and observant people I know, and why would she ask me that question out of nowhere, right? One good thing about her is that she after asking me the question and me not telling her, which is indirectly agreeing with her, she was still physically close to me. So a number of times we just entangle our arms and hold each other while sitting in the middle of our friends while chatting. So she's quite charming though. The sweet and clever type, but can be very intimidating. I was always intimidated when with her. Not the intimidating that I hate her kind of intimidating. This is the one which is always mentioned in fan fiction and whatnot. So I don't think she mind who I am. She made me feel free to just be myself. Next question. How do you feel after releasing this podcast? Okay, creating this podcast is like taking a really big risk for me. So I don't want to control the external anymore other than myself. At first I was worried to create this and then publishing and then broadcasting it in YouTube, everything. Especially the genre and the topic that I'm talking about. It's like fresh from my for my personal, based on my personal experience. Basically, I don't never do this before. It is basically like outing myself. So my brain was like, what if your friends find out about this? What if somebody else find out about this? Then the book Masterpiece in Your Heart, those poems except were all actually about the woman I was attracted to. None about any guys except one. I mean, like, I didn't use gender pronouns, so not my fault if they assume otherwise after reading it. Then after creating this podcast and publishing it, I do not know, automatically it seems like I don't mind at all. Like, I don't really care now who listens. I mean, I write about it and even link my name in the search engine optimization with this podcast. Initially, I don't even put my actual name with this podcast. So I wrote about it in my blogs, my YouTube, and even my social media. So if you have the time, you can just look through my website. I feel like I feel more like proud of my achievement instead. This is like one way for me to release my suppressed opinions and feelings, apart from using it to promote my books and writings. Recording myself speaking and listening to it while editing. This is the last thing I wanted to do in my life, not because of the contents, but because I was uncomfortable listening to my own voice and watch myself in video. So how did I ended up doing it anyway? Okay, I will tell you why I feel uncomfortable in the first place. Years ago, I was interviewed by a radio station for the services I provided that is on handwriting analysis. When I listened to it back, I hated it so much, like my voice specifically. Like, why did I sound that way? But when I asked my friend Priya, she said, no, it was fine. She said that because I guess probably people are used to listening to our voices, but not us ourselves. So I think it's natural. When I created this idea to make a podcast, it was to actually make my published book visible in the market. So that was the intention. And of course, to share the backstory of my first book, which was very actually important to me. I don't know why. It is like I don't tell my friends about myself and the writings, but I don't mind telling the whole world about what is that book about and what are the poems about. So you may ask how I overcome that uncomfortable feeling. I wrote this in my blog. A friend whom I know when I was taking a course at Harvard Business School was somewhat the final motivation for me. Actually, I requested for him to listen to the recorded episode 1, the first episode, and comment on it professionally. I trusted him on this is because we have not met before, and any feedbacks he wants to give will not be awkward for him. He doesn't know my personality, so it will be on a natural point of view. And also because he has been running his own podcast and producing six podcasts, I think. And basically, in terms of technicality, he is the right person. So when he listened to my first episode and of all the feedbacks that he mentioned, the only problem was the echo issue of the room, which means where I recorded my voice. It is not even about my voice or the subject I am discussing about, because I told him the subject I'm talking about is about women loving women, which is about more to the relationship between women and women romantically. He don't care, he don't mind, because he's from New York, so he even said that my concept is actually unique, and I managed to differentiate my tone of voice between reading the poem, and talking about the contents. Well, that was like a fully throttle motivation for me. I am not kidding when I said I was quite demotivated after recording the first episode, wondering whether should I continue? Is this content really very sensitive? Even though I have write the plan and script and synopsis, everything. I gave myself excuses like my office room is not soundproof, so my office neighbors could listen and all that shit. I thought to myself, in my brain, that was it. Then when I realized that those are excuses I created for myself to avoid putting my plans into actions, immediately I find alternatives to solve that issue. And here I am in a podcast studio, not my office, talking to you. I feel like most of the time we have to fight off our own negative mindset. And if anyone around you that you feel will not support your plans, which are nothing detrimental of course, it is better to keep it to yourself. Because for me, it is so challenging to fight off my own negative thinking, and I don't need another inputs from someone else to bring me down. So that is how I normally solve my problems and putting my plans into actions. The way I will be releasing the first episode of another podcast of mine, a different genre and concept, that is more towards the science of handwriting analysis, more motivational, ways to grow your personality and putting plans into actions. You can look forward for the Grapholistic podcast, as in GRAPHOLISTIC, Grapholistic podcast. It will be broadcasted by end of June or early 2021. Next question. What is your plan in terms of publishing the third book? Currently, I am working on something, but it will not be on poetry. Harry actually requested me to write a novel, but I told him that I tried to write, but it just doesn't work at the moment. Explaining something which is fictional, especially expressing feelings and only based on my imagination, is a bit challenging for me in comparison to writing poems, which are mainly what is happened and what had happened. However, I have started working on my current project. This time it will be more graphic, that is a comic, more to romance genre in a fictional city. I am looking forward to producing this because the storyline has been in my imagination for years. Before I sleep or whenever I couldn't sleep, these imaginations will always have a playback at the back of my mind. Currently, I am getting an illustrator to collaborate on this comic. Probably the first issue will be out by end of July, early August 2021. I am also looking forward to make a short film without the need to invest so much money on it. I have started to write the script too for this. Anyway, I will keep you guys updated in my website or YouTube whenever there is any latest release. Next question. The ending of the Letters of 1,000 Speeches is very sad. How do you manage to overcome those feelings? Oh yes, at the end, this is like the fourth month. Just now I was recording one of the episodes and I do not know why I started to tear up. So far, it works very well. Although it was a bit challenging in the beginning, which I let it be. It took me about 2 to 3 weeks to fully resetting memories and justifying my decisions. But the funny thing is that, like I said, I didn't feel as overwhelmed like before I wrote those letters. I didn't cry. I thought I would be angry, but I didn't. Yes, so far considered I am good. But remember that this takes a lot of courage. That is to prioritize yourself first. In case if you can identify that I sounded emotionless in my podcast episodes in this season, when I was explaining, it is because I was in the middle of handling myself and neutralizing how I feel. So basically, when I am trying to forget something, I want to make sure that I remove the emotion out of it. So I guess this is like the last. I think I should end it here. I hope that I could meet you guys or continue this podcast soon. Maybe towards the middle or the end of this year, 2021. Meanwhile, to purchase a copy of this Letters of 1,000 Speeches, it is now available in your online bookstores, Amazon, Barnes and Nobles, and our website at winterscribbler.com. If you buy directly from our website, definitely you will be getting a better rate. There's also a gift box package which is also available. It consists of tea, coffee, biscuits, handmade pineapple tarts, and chocolates. Apart from the book, so we look forward that you will read this book while reading a cappuccino. For the live recording of this podcast, please visit our YouTube channel, Winter Scribbler. The link to the video and the episode transcripts is now available in our website. To support us, be our patron and receive additional benefits with your membership, such as free books from our publishing company, behind-the-scenes episode tutorials, and many other benefits linked to our sister company, Grapholistic International. Like I said, I will take a break for this season and will keep you updated for any new episodes in the next season. Meanwhile, do check out my podcast, Grapholistic Podcast, in late June 2021 or early July 2021. Thank you for listening to my contents. At the meantime, take good care of yourself. Bye bye.